I'm here to be an all-time great.
Now rocking with the best.
Purple yellow, purple yellow, purple yellow, purple yellow.
The Lakers repeat back-to-back titles.
Welcome to the Big Baby Jonathan Sports Podcast.
Oh, he's smoking hot.
The latest Laker news.
Another great Showtime feed.
The greatest Lakers show.
This is going to be legendary for a long time.
This is the Big Baby Jonathan Sports Podcast.
Lakers all day.
Go Lakers!
What's good, everybody? It's your boy Big Baby here from Big Baby Sports. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, turn on those post notifications for each and every podcast, pregame show, postgame show, and I got a very special guest, senior NBA reporter covering the Lakers from Athletic, jovanbuha. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule, man. You've been busy with the trade deadline stuff, Lakers stuff today at practice. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, man. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man. So just in general, man, it's been 5 days since the trade deadline, man. Like, I know Lakers didn't do anything, but were they ever close to making a deal for the Bruce Browns, DeJounte Murray? Let the viewers know.
Yeah, so from my understanding, the Lakers were never really close on deadline day or close in the days leading up to the deadline. They had gotten close on a potential DeJounte Murray trade about 3 weeks or so before the deadline, and that was a deal I reported on where the package was going to be D'Lo, JHS, that 2029 first-round pick. They're kind of haggling on the different protections for that potentially, and then additional draft compensation either in the form of a pick swap or a second-round pick. And then the talks kind of devolved from there. That they went up the chain, got all the way to ownership, and Hawks ownership wanted a better return for Murray. They wanted either Austin Reeves in the deal, or they wanted D'Lo rerouted to a third team, and then to get some more assets back, be it another first round pick or something along those lines. So really the deal fell apart about 3 weeks or so before the deadline. They continued to have conversations from that point on, but it never got back to the level of, we're close and let's get this back to ownership. Let's send this to the league office. So it really, they were never that close on a deal. And I think ultimately it just kind of came down to, if you look at the guys that they were likely going to trade, be it D'Lo, Rui, or Gabe, those guys just ultimately didn't have a lot of value. And it was going to take the Lakers attaching that 2029 just to get in the conversation with some of these guys. And really that didn't feel like there were true difference makers on the market. So for them to have to attach assets to get off a contract and then attach more assets to get a player back, they felt like any deal was likely going to be an overpay. So for them, they decided to stand pat. As we saw, they ended up signing Spencer Dinwiddie, who I think is one of the better guys to have changed teams, including trades that were made at the deadline. So I think for the Lakers, they're pretty happy with how this all turned out.
Yeah, most definitely, man. I like how it turned out. I know we didn't make a trade, but it's all good. And also Spencer Dinwiddie, man. How do you think that's going to unfold with the Lakers? He's going to start, come off the bench. What have you been hearing?
Yeah, so I think he's going to come off the bench and back up both Austin and D'Lo. As Darvin spoke today, we'll likely see some 3-guard lineups. I know some Laker fans weren't happy about that, going back to last season where Dennis was closing next to those guys in some games, and then even before that, we saw some lineups with like Russ, Pat Bev, and Dennis, and just going super small. So fortunately, I think the one thing with those 3 guys is that they're all big. Austin and D'Lo are both 6'4", 6'5". Spencer Dinwiddie 6'6". So at least if you are going to go smaller with a 3-guard lineup, those guys at least have some size. Spencer, to me, can defend 2s and 3s in certain contexts. So it's not the worst thing in the world. It's not as bad as it was last season. But I think he's someone who's going to come in, play 20 to 25 minutes off the bench. There will be some nights he closes. Maybe D'Lo or Austin is struggling that night, and they go with Spencer, riding the hot hand. But this is a guy who's been a starter for the last 4 or 5 seasons in the league. He has 4 different seasons averaging 6+ assists a game. So I think he's going to come in, one as a one-on-one scorer and someone who can drive, get downhill, get to the rim, draw fouls. But then 2, add a level of playmaking that yes, the Lakers already have to a large extent with LeBron, D'Lo, and Austin and AD recently. But I think Spencer's just going to add to that and just add another ball handler, another threat. So really offensively, I'm looking at this as just continuing to take the Lakers in a different level. They've been really good offensively over the past like month or so. Defensively, I think there are some questions. Like he does have the size. He's 6'5", 6'6". Again, pretty decent athleticism, decent speed, but he's not necessarily like that point of attack guy that the Lakers have needed. He's not a lockdown defender. So probably an upgrade over Austin and D'Lo, which will help, but he's not on that, Cam, Max, Vando, even Gabe level that the Lakers kind of need. So they need to get all those guys back healthy. And then once they do, I think you'll see the defense start to balance out a bit.
Yeah, most definitely, man. I agree with you 100%, man. I like Spencer Dinwiddie's game. Very athletic player, both ends. And I feel like that's going to spark the energy off the bench. D'Lo and Spencer Dinwiddie have chemistry, so I feel like that's going to spark something really well when he comes in, man. I think we play tomorrow versus Detroit. I feel like he's going to get some run in tomorrow. Hopefully, he gets some run in tomorrow versus Detroit.
Yeah, from my understanding, that's the plan tomorrow.
Yeah, most definitely, man. Also, too, man, like, what's the environment? I know Lakers have been up and down with the roster, with the lineups and stuff. How is Darvin Ham this season? Like, what's the body language with the team? Go in depth on that.
Yeah, I think it's been better in recent weeks. Like winning always helps. Winning really cures all. I think you rarely hear stories of teams having chemistry issues or locker room issues when the team is winning. And I think some of that stuff started to come out with the Lakers when they were losing and going through that post in season tournament stretch where they started 3 of 10, and really that's where the wheels kind of fell off with the season. So I think things have been better overall. I still think that there's a lot of work to do. Like they're still in 9th in the West, right? And that is not where this group wants to be. I think realistically they could get back to 6th or 7th, and that puts you in a different conversation of if you're 6th, you avoid the play-in entirely. If you're 7th, you at least have home court advantage and have 2 shots at making the playoffs. So I think for them, that's the goal right now is, top 4. I think that's kind of almost set already. Like those 4 teams have distanced themselves. Phoenix is playing at a really high level. So I think it's looking like they're probably, if they can stay healthy, probably going to get that 5 seed. But for the Lakers, can you get the 6 seed? Can you get the 7 seed? And that to me is really going to determine how the rest of the season goes, but also how things go for Darvin Ham. Like I think if this team doesn't make the play-in tournament somehow, or like loses in the play-in tournament, like now you have to have a certain conversation of, are we headed in the right direction? Is this the right person to lead us? But if they make the playoffs, make the first round, maybe win a round, like then I think we're having a different conversation there. So really, I think it's going to come down to results. Everything I've heard is he's going to be safe through the rest of the regular season and postseason, like into the summer. So I don't think, barring them losing like 10 games in a row and things just going off the rails, I don't really see a scenario in which they move on from him. So with that said, I think it's really going to just come down to how does the rest of the season go? How does the postseason go? And then from there, the organization is going to reevaluate things and then make ultimately a decision.
Yeah, most definitely, man. I personally thought the Lakers were going to fire him. If it wasn't for that, I know LeBron AD sat out, I feel like if the Lakers would have lost that game versus the Celtics, I think change would have happened. But I feel like beating the Celtics without LeBron and AD, and I feel like that turned the spark around. And also, too, you got to ask if the Lakers don't make the playoffs, is this kind of the last we've seen LeBron with the Lakers in the Laker uniform?
It's a good question. I'm not sure. I want to say no, honestly. I think that, LeBron has a $51.4 million player option, and that's just a lot of money to turn down. And there are going to be some teams with cap space, including Philly, potentially. And, maybe that is a situation that he entertains. But I'm more of the mindset that I think LeBron is going to opt in. Again, I just think that's a lot of money to turn down. Maybe if he disagrees with the direction of the team, he opts in and then demands a trade at some point down the road, whether it's over the summer or early in the season before next trade deadline. But I just think that's a lot of money for him to turn down. And, we have seen LeBron operate year to year, but we've never really he hasn't taken that massive pay cut that certain guys have taken on the back end of their careers to kind of help their teams out. Like, that's just not how he's operated. And again, I think 51.4 million, even for a guy who's worth over $1 billion, like that's a significant amount of money to turn down to go sign a minimum somewhere, or to go sign for the taxpayer mid-level, or even to sign for like 30 million a year. Like that's just that's a lot of money. So for me, I think he's going to opt in. Now, again, whether he's happy with the direction of the roster, like a lot of that will come down to how does the team perform the rest of the way? Do they make they're talking about going after a star this summer. Can they execute that and bring in a third guy? There are a lot, like what happens with Bronny. That's another thing. Like, does Bronny come out? Where does he go? Does he go to the Lakers? Does he go to a different team? So there's a lot of moving parts, I think, with LeBron and his future. But if I had to bet right now, I would say I think he opts in and is a Laker next season. But again, I think there are still several things that could sway that one way or the other. I just think at the end of the day, money talks, and that's a lot of money.
Yeah, most definitely. 51 million. I probably would opt in too, but just the way that LeBron's been doing stuff, tweeting about the little time thing, him wearing the New York Knicks towel. I know everybody's.
He was applying pressure for sure.
He was. But if LeBron didn't want to be here, he should go to management and say, "You've done everything you can for me. I need to leave." Like, how come? I don't know. That's just how I would roll if I was Rob Pelinka. I'd say, "You know what, LeBron? What are you gonna do? Like, be on him. If he doesn't, trade him. Because I know if LeBron leaves, will we have cap space if, let's hypothetically say, LeBron does leave? Will the Lakers have cap space?
I want to say they'd have a little bit of cap. Let me pull up quickly their cap sheet, but yeah. I want to say, because I mean the thing is they have several guys under contract for next season. So pulling it up right now. So you got LeBron 51.4 player option. You got 80 at 43.2, D'Lo 18.7 player option, Rui 17. I mean, they actually got a lot of. You still got Austin, you got Gabe, you got Vando. His extension is kicking in. So like, they're projected to not have cap space, but that's assuming LeBron is opting in. I think if LeBron opts out, they still might be over the cap. So that's the problem with LeBron opting out, is that that's the problem with D'Lo opting out too, is like D'Lo's number is even lower. So it's harder to replace that money because you're not finding another guy for 18 million that's going to do what D'Lo does. So I think that was the kind of risk that they took with keeping D'Lo past the trade deadline, is just there's an opportunity for him to leave if he chooses to. But with LeBron, I would have to look at the numbers a little bit more closely, but I don't think they would have cap space, or if they do, I think it would be very minimal.
Yeah, and that's going to be interesting offseason, man. Yeah, it's going to be interesting offseason, man. So, but also too about D'Lo, I really personally feel like the trade rumors and speculation got him to play better, and he's been balling out. D'Lo's been playing well. But if he does opt out, is there a possibility we can sign and trade him away, or can he just leave outright somewhere else?
So he could, either one of those is possible. I think the more likely scenario would be him probably just leaving outright, because if he's the rules of the sign and trade are, it hard caps the other team, so they have a limit to how much they can spend. So really, for the one, you got to get D'Lo to agree to the sign and trade. 2, you got to get the other team to agree to the sign and trade, and 3, you probably have to, you almost certainly would have to attach assets, be it a pick swap, a second round pick, whatever, a young player to that trade to entice that team or incentivize them rather to do the deal. Because if you're, let's just say it's the Orlando Magic, hypothetically, if I'm the Magic, I'm like, why am I helping the Lakers out by either sending them a player or creating a trade exception that they could use to go get another player, like if I can just sign D'Lo outright? So another option could be a team, trade dumping a contract that they don't want. So maybe there's a guy that's under contract for longer term, and the Lakers want that guy, and So again, in an Orlando situation, maybe they don't want Joe Ingles contract or something, and like you could find a way to make it work potentially that way. But more often, like signing trades are tricky. There's a reason why they don't happen that often. So it is a possibility, but I think if a team had cap space and D'Lo wanted to leave, the more likely scenario would just be him leaving and the Lakers losing that spot on their cap sheet. So again, I think the Lakers are in a situation now where, ideally either you do sign and trade him to a team that is, doesn't have the money to sign him, but wants him. And that's where you can find maybe a fairer deal, or you just have to give him the type of contract that he wants if he opts out. And so he does have some leverage now over the Lakers, and it's going to be interesting to see how that ultimately plays out, because if he does leave, they kind of are in a tough position in terms of actually replacing that roster spot and just that salary slot on their cap sheet.
Yeah, most definitely, man. Even like D'Lo said, it makes sense to trade his contract. He wasn't what I heard that interview. I was like, if he gets traded, he gets traded. He doesn't care at this point. That's how I took it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And also, too, Lakers will have 3 first-round picks. I know Donovan Mitchell's a possibility, Kyrie, Trae Young. If we do those trades, that probably most likely LeBron will be here. But if he doesn't, I feel like that would be something Lakers got to put all their chips at the table, too, just to keep LeBron. That's just how I feel.
Yeah. I think the Lakers have kind of been on this quest for a third star and really a second ball handler for quite some time now. I mean, it really started that summer that they brought in Russ. It went from like that, the 2020 team didn't really have Rondo was a bench player. Caruso wasn't really a traditional point guard. Like the offense ran through LeBron. He led the league in assists that year, played a bit more point guard, a bit more on the ball. The next year they bring in Dennis Schroeder, and like he was a solid fit overall, but that team, they LeBron and AD both got injured. AD gets injured again in the playoffs against Phoenix. They lose in round 1. Then they move on and bring in Russ. And that summer they had looked at Damian Lillard. They had looked at maybe bringing in a wing star in the form of like DeMar DeRozan or Bradley Beal. Ultimately settle on Russ. And as we know, that was not a great fit. That situation did not work out. And then since then, went after Kyrie Irving a couple times, and then ultimately got D'Angelo Russell last trade deadline. And again, are now started to kind of look towards 2024 and bringing in a third star, a secondary ball handler. So I think all 3 guys, be it Donovan Mitchell, Trae Young, or Kyrie Irving, each bring something to the table unique. Each are, to me, a much better fit than Russell Westbrook was, because all 3 guys can shoot off the ball in a way that Westbrook just couldn't. And we've seen what happens when Kyrie and LeBron play together. They go to multiple finals. They win a championship. Trae Young, I think he'd be the one that has to make the biggest adjustment, just because he has the ball so much in Atlanta and everything's run through him. So he'd have to learn how to play off the ball more. But he's such a good shooter that I think they could figure that out. There would be a level of sacrifice though. And then with Donovan Mitchell, he's also someone who I think has, he's been more of a shooting guard than a point guard in Cleveland, playing next to Darius Garland. That's another high usage guy, a guy who's a really good playmaker and passer. So I think all 3 guys would fit very well offensively. There would be some defensive concerns. Like, Trae is just objectively one of the worst defenders in the league, in large part because of his stature. He's 6'1", 6'2", under 180 pounds. Like he's just a small guy. Kyrie's okay when he tries defensively, but he's not always trying. And then Donovan is also kind of up and down, although he's at least athletic, got a little bit more size at like 6'3". So I think each guy, would check the box of what the Lakers are looking for from that third spot. The problem is, if you look at just some of the recent star trades, like even 3 first-round picks might not be enough. Like some of these trades have gone 5 picks, 7 picks. Like it's been crazy, some of these star hauls. So to get one of those guys, like I think Kyrie would be the cheapest, just because I don't think he's considered at the same stature as Trae or Donovan anymore. But to get a Trae Young, like that's the franchise guy in Atlanta for half a decade now. Like Donovan Mitchell, there's going to be a high demand with both New York teams going after him as well. So like there's a chance the Lakers get into a bidding war, and in some cases they won't be able to outbid some of the other teams that they're battling for these stars. But I look at Trey as probably the one that's maybe the most realistic. Like he has the clutch ties. He's a clutch player. There was a report just today that Atlanta is now considering moving on from Trey and keeping DeJounte and building around him. So in that case, if Trey is available, I think the Lakers are in the short list of potential teams for him, and potentially the favorite if they're willing to put Austin Reeves in the deal, and then also 3 first-round picks, maybe a pick swap or 2. Like they could get a competitive package, in my opinion, if Trey ultimately becomes available.
Most definitely, man, and I agree. Trey Young, and that's the thing. I know if the Lakers did talk to Atlanta in the offseason, they probably would want Reeves, Max Christie, those 3 for take everything from the Lakers to get Trey Young. It's like I'd rather, but that's the thing though about Kyrie. The Lakers and Brooklyn did talk for Russell Westbrook, Austin Reeves, and some picks. Like they should have just went on in there. But why are they going to try to get Kyrie Irving now? Then they remember last year with the whole Westbrook thing. Like how come they didn't want to go after him back then, but they're trying now? Is it LeBron? If you get Kyrie, I'm staying. Is it like pressure still from the LeBron to get these guys here?
I think it's there's a part of. I think LeBron has made it clear that he wants another star, and that's been something that he's wanted really. The majority of his time with the Lakers has been that second ball handler guard type star to do. If you look at where he's had success, be it in Miami with Dwayne Wade or Cleveland with Kyrie, like he has, with the Lakers was like the exception, where he has tended to have a perimeter sidekick who can take some of that burden off of him, and they can run pick and rolls together where LeBron's the ball handler and that guy's screening for him or vice versa. And like, I think that's just like the type of player he likes playing with. And that's, again, something the Lakers are trying to recreate. But I think with the Kyrie situation, like obviously at the time last year, he was going through some stuff off the court in terms of the documentary that he shared on social media and some of the fallout with that. I still think there are some people who would have an issue with the Lakers bringing him in and would criticize them, and they'd have to answer certain questions about that. So like, I think with Kyrie, it's really been more of like off-court stuff and some of the distractions that have come with being in the Kyrie Irving business. So I think for the Lakers, like time has passed. It's been over a year since they were trying to get him. If they got him over the summer, it would be about 18 months or so since they tried to get him. And I think sometimes like time heals these things, or at least puts it, in the distant past. And so I think also, like, if you look at the way he's been with Dallas this season, like, yes, he's been injured, but he has bounced back more to the Kyrie that we're accustomed to. And he's been distraction free. Like there's really been no distractions with him off the court. So I also think like he's proven, I can be serious about basketball for a sustained period of time. I'm not going to be saying this or that off the court and bringing attention to myself, bringing attention to my team. So I also think the Lakers have noticed that. And there's that element too of just like, okay, well, if he can do this for like a year in Dallas, then, hopefully he can come in here and continue to act the same way. So I really think with Kyrie, it's always been the off court stuff. On the court, he's always been like a special player and a top 20, top 15 guy, right? It's just been a matter of, is he available and or is he forcing our star player or our head coach to talk about stuff that like they don't really want to talk about. They want to talk about basketball. So that's really been it with Kyrie. But I think the fences have mended a bit with the Lakers on that side. And again, we'll see. Like he has to become available. That's the one where like Donovan has some control because he's a free agent. Yeah. Trey, it might just be Atlanta going in a different direction. But like Dallas and Kyrie, that probably has to be Dallas loses in the play-in. Dallas loses in round 1. They decide, hey, Kyrie and Luka just aren't a great fit. We need to go in a different direction. And I see that being more of like the path to Kyrie becoming available and then potentially becoming a Laker.
Yeah, most definitely. But like Dallas, I don't think Dallas has wanted to trade Kyrie to the Lakers. I thought Kyrie's going to stay Maverick. Also, there's a possibility with LeBron goes to Dallas.
That's been out there.
Yeah, so it's like there's a lot of stuff going on, man. With all these trades and stuff, man. We gotta get into rapid fire questions, or Yes, some questions. Who would you want to build your team around? Number 8, Kobe Bryant, or number 24?
It's a great question. When I got into basketball, he was number 8. So I feel like there's always that special place and like just discovering something for the first time. It was during that first championship season. I was 8, and discovering Kobe and Shaq and just that duo. And Shaq is ultimately my favorite player of all time, and that was formed at that time. But Froby, number 8 with the Adidas, and just how electric and exciting of a young player he was. So I would go number 8. But he had 2 Hall of Fame careers in 2 different numbers. Like if you look at it's pretty crazy. So for me, nostalgia wins, and I would go number 8. But I understand. I feel like most people would probably pick 24.
Yeah, I picked 24 because his passion, his desire to win, just in general, man. Like last game against Utah, I know Shaq said 50, and I was joking around with my brother. I was like, he's gonna probably score 60 and call it a night. He scored 60. Not surprising, like the way that Kobe does stuff, man. His legacy's living on, and the statue just got built last week, and it's all good, man. And I have a Kobe story. He followed me on Twitter, and me and him had a conversation, and he was like, "Big
That's
baby,
awesome.
man, keep up the great work, bro. Love what you do, man. Salute, Mamba out." Looking at
dope.
like,
That's
I'm
really
looking at
dope.
like, I told my brother, "Is this really Kobe? Let me check." Clicked on it, verified. I'm like, I was just in shock, and then respond back, "Thanks, bro. God bless. Salute." And then I'm on this podcasting journey that I'm on. He said, "Keep doing your thing." And also too, I had Jeannie Buss on my channel, Robert Horry, Dwight Howard. So it's like he saw that greatness in me, and ever since I saw that tweet, I keep it. I read it every day, every single day. When I'm having a
That's
down day,
awesome.
look what Kobe said: "Get your ass up and go to work." So that's how I
Exactly.
roll. So the mom mentality, man. But shout out to everybody in the stream, man. Jovanbuha, just want to thank you so much for being on here on Big Baby Sports, man. Go ahead and plug in your channel where they can go follow you, man.
Yeah, so at all social platforms, JOVANBUHA. I'm starting to do YouTube as well. Been doing some vlogging, some behind the scenes content. So check out Jovan Buha on YouTube.
Yeah, man. Appreciate you tuning in, man, and we'll talk soon.